trade over. Obviously, Giannis, there has been no talk or no, request from Giannis about being traded. However, obviously there has been speculation, whether or not Giannis wants to be traded, because the Bucks obviously, lost Damian Lillard, and a lot of people don't think that they are necessarily the favorites to come out of the, Eastern Conference. So, when I say is the Giannis trade over, I'm talking about the Bucks signing Giannis's brother. So if you didn't know, Thanasis is going to be back on the Bucks roster, which he wasn't on last year. I think it's because he had torn something. I can't remember. I think he tore something in his knee, or he had some kind of injury. I don't know if that's the only reason why he wasn't on the roster. But I do know he had some kind of injury. So, with that being said, Thanasis and Giannis are back together on the Bucks. And the reason I'm posing the question, I guess, saying, is the Giannis trade over, is because why? Well, not why, but if the Bucks are signing Giannis's brother, we know how close Giannis is with his, brothers. So it's hard to imagine that they sign Thanasis and then Giannis leaves, whether, that be before the season start or mid-season, whatever, kind of trade. Unless in the trade, Thanasis goes with him, But, if Thanasis was not going with him, I'm not saying it's completely impossible for Giannis to still request a trade, and leave Milwaukee. But again, them signing his brother, well, it could be twofold. And I'm just, using my my brain here. I don't have any reporting on this. But it can go two ways. One, Giannis requested for them to sign him, so that he would be happy and stay in Milwaukee. Again, I don't know any kind of conversation that Giannis had with them and stuff like that. So, I don't know if Giannis asked them to sign his brother back, but what I'm saying is one way is that Giannis requested his brother is there, and obviously they're going to do that because that makes him happy and they want him to stay in Milwaukee. The other way is that, or one of the other ways is that the Bucks signed Thanasis knowing that makes Giannis happy, knowing Thanasis was not on the roster last year, and they want Giannis to stay. And obviously Giannis would be like, yes, I'm my brother. He's not going to say no to that. So it could have been the Bucks' idea, as a way to keep Giannis happy. So I don't know what, which way it went, right? But regardless, either way, whatever scenario it is, my point is, if Thanasis is on the roster, again, that doesn't mean there's zero chance that Giannis still can't request a trade at some point and whatever. But again, we know how close he is with his brothers. It seems a lot less likely that he's going to be on the move now that we know Thanasis will be on the roster. That just, that's what it feels like to me. Okay. Again, unless Thanasis goes with him in whatever trade there is, if there is ever a trade. But we know Giannis is seems to be happy there and stuff like that. So I guess we'll see how, the first half of the season plays out. Obviously, Giannis wants to win. So if the season is not, going as planned, maybe that'll change, his direction. I think right now he seems to be committed to the Bucks and stuff like that. And there are no signs, again, that he wants to leave, but obviously things can change as the season goes on. So I know it's kind of funny and like to say like, is the Giannis trade over because Thanasis was signed? Because again, Thanasis is not going to probably play large minutes. But again, to Giannis, he is very important. That is his brother. Like, him and his brother are really close. So, again, I don't know if it was the Giannis requesting for Thanasis to be signed again, or if it was the Bucks' idea as like another way to keep Giannis happy. I don't know what the scenario was on how it went down. But again, Thanasis being on the roster, I feel like makes it less likely that Giannis goes anywhere and that he's traded. So the Giannis saga might be over already. Again, no one knows, what's going to happen with Giannis. I'm sure Giannis is not like everybody's speculating, on his potential wants and needs, including me right now. I'm sure Giannis does not like this, right? He likes to do things on his own time, do things on his own pace, and he doesn't want, being forced to go in one direction or another. And that's fair enough. We're just having a conversation here, I'm not trying to put any pressure on Giannis either way. It's up to him. It's his decision. It's his life. Like I said, what I will say is if Thanasis is on the roster, again, makes it less likely, in my opinion, that he's traded, at least for now. And there are lots of teams lining up to try to get Giannis, and that's not going to change. Like, just to be clear, even if Thanasis, even if Giannis came out today and said, I want to be on the Bucks. I don't want to trade, right? Yes, people are going to believe him, but at the same time, teams are still going to keep their trade assets ready and stuff like that in case something changes, because a player like Giannis doesn't come around that often, and things change in the NBA, right? Like, the front offices, they've seen players say that many times and then request a trade later. So obviously Giannis, is very loyal, and he's not necessarily the same player as, some of the other people who have eventually requested trades who have said they're committed. But it is the NBA, and Giannis does want to win as well. We know that. Giannis obviously wants to win in Milwaukee. Fair enough. He's going to try his best to win there again. But he does also want to win. So that will definitely be factoring into his decision, one more shape or form. Again, I'm not trying to put pressure on him. It's up to him. But I'm just saying, depends on, what Giannis wants in the end. Again, I just think he's going to evaluate first, of course, how the season starts. Because if he can win there, if he can win with Milwaukee again, that's better for him. He doesn't really want to move. He obviously loves it in Milwaukee. Again, his brother's on the team now, stuff like that. And, like, if he gets to, win more titles with Milwaukee, that also raises his all-time status, too. Because let's just say, for example, if he won a championship with this roster this year, people would look at that title run as like a super amazing title run because he didn't have, Damian Lillard on the team anymore. He didn't have Chris Middleton, who was, obviously awesome in their championship year and stuff like that. So that the title, and I don't really like getting into this, because there's obviously a whole argument on Kevin Durant's, titles with Golden State and, different values on different titles. Not really interested in that. But what I'm saying is, like, obviously that, this title, if they won again this year, that would be highly valued, not only by the city of Milwaukee and obviously the team and organization, but like around the league from media and all that kind of stuff, because no one is, or not no one, but most people are not picking them to win the title. So, you know, that, that would be something really great. So that's my opinion on that. Thank you guys so much for watching this live stream. I hope you enjoyed, and see you soon. Bye.